how does this relate to Richard Dawkins? Well, the mythology of this whole period, the last 300 years of England, of the Royal Society, was that man is just an animal, right? It's an atheistic, naturalistic assumption. And the first book, right now, I'm sure you know this, but we know that Origin of Species, its full title is Of the Favored Races, which they don't ever talk about, right? So it's the Origin of Species of Man and the Favored Races, right? But of course, Darwin's book doesn't actually propose that man is that there was necessarily a transmutation of species. The first person to propose transmutation of species was T.H. Huxley, Darwin's bulldog.
Yes.
And again, another one of these top Royal Society people. Now, what does T.H. Huxley use as his proof? He's got a bunch of drawings and woodcuts of fantasy men that he has made up, and these don't exist. These transition men are not real.
Yes.
They're just drawings from who? A guy named Rodermacher. Well, who was Rodermacher? He was one of the top Freemasons in Europe. And he was the head of the Paleontology Society. So you can look up, I think it's Jacob Rodermacher. So the point of all this was just to say that evolution and the naturalism that we got from the 1700s on was not something that came in a vacuum. It's something that came as a result of a mythical ethos that was at that time intimately connected to the British imperial philosophy. We are the end of history. We are the greatest apex of evolution. That is the British Empire. We are the highest evolved. That's the point of Darwin's book.
And are you also implying it was eugenicist, basically?
Of course it was.
Yeah.
The Huxleys, the Galtons, they are the ones. I have all of their books right here. I do a globalist book series. I have Charles Galton Darwin, another one of these Royal Society guys, and his whole book, The Next Million Years, is that very thing, is how do we kill everybody? So again, all of these ideas are not disconnected. They're absolutely connected. And you're absolutely right to say that Richard Dawkins is just another outgrowth of all this same ideology.
He's a useful device. But I just want to underline this point. I am not telling you, but for the audience, I just want to underline this point that atheistic materialism does not pick you up and plop you down right into liberalism. It actually can more naturally get you into a very kind of racialist, tribalist sort of thinking, which I think we might be seeing the fruits of. Now, you also brushed against something which I actually wrote down in kind of a topic for discussion, is that I'm not just conjecturing, but there seems to be an effort to use these tailored little strategies to pick up these subgroups and to put them. It's almost like you have atheistic materialism, which is the ultimate kind of bland, homogenized worldview, which seems like it's tailor-made for a kind of bland, homogenized globalism, basically. So how do you get all these little groups and get them to go into this big chum bucket of atheistic materialism? And I find they use these tailored little strategies to get them all on board. It seems very ironic to me that I'm sure you know, like black nationalism, and he said, "Oh well, Christianity is the white man's religion," which was nonsense. Of course, they had black churches in Ethiopia and in the Bible, but yeah. So they seize upon victim narratives. They seize upon identity politics, ironically, to pick people up and plop them down into the homogenized world religion of atheistic materialism.
Yeah, I think that my perspective on that is that atheism is a phase that we've been put through, and then I think the social engineers know that man doesn't last very long with that. It might last for a generation. Individuals might have a period of that in their lives. Granted, of course, some people are going to be atheists all their life, sure, but I think that they definitely want to take us eventually beyond that into other perspectives that are more amenable to where they want things to go. So the reason that atheism is promoted is that it's given the appearance of reason and logic and all these things, in academia and in pop culture. But what happens is that you find that ultimately these things aren't fulfilling. And what happens is a lot of times people will then return back to some kind of weird religious movement as they find atheism unsatisfying. And that's just because we all have that again, man is a fundamentally religious being, I think. And even as an atheist, he's going to worship something, which is why all these atheists either worship themselves or nature. They're really no different than pantheists. And I think that yeah, in a global context, you can absolutely verify that the social engineers want to take us in the direction of various forms of UN type spirituality. A kind of a great example of this is in Huxley's book, Brave New World, again related to T.H.
The other Huxley, yeah.
In Brave New World, which is their model for how things will be, they have a religion, they have a church service, but it's a weird civic religion where you go and you just kind of, I think he even calls it the supreme intellect or the supreme being, which is straight out of Masonry. You have this generic sort of recognition of the fact that there's a superior force, but the religion is completely created and controlled by in the book the global social engineers who are called the world's socialist controllers.
Yeah.
So that's where I think that they want to take these things, and atheism is just a step on that road, just like Marxism is a step on the road to the final state.